Drivers, start your engines!
This is MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Hercules Tires. One full hour of news, interviews, and opinion about the past weekend's racing action.
Pace car is up.
Now here are your hosts, Woody Cain and Joey Meier.
Green flag, green flag.
Another big weekend in the books, this time a triple header at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Jimmie Johnson goes into overtime to get his first victory of the year and his 76th overall, tying Dale Earnhardt, Hall of Famer and seven-time champ. On the Xfinity side, Kyle Busch goes to victory lane as part of a doubleheader Saturday in the Camping World Truck Series. John Hunter Nemechek gets his second career win. His first was at Chicago, follows that up with a win at Atlanta. He will be on the program a little bit later on. I'm Woody Cain, joined by two-spotter Joey Meier. What did we see on Sunday? A lot of folks talking about the low downforce package. We finally got a good look at it. Some reviews great, others not so much.
Welcome to our version of overtime. Only once every 4 years do we have a show like this. It's leap year, man.
Right,
it's leap
right.
year.
Leap year.
Yeah, it's a big deal. You know, if you didn't like what you saw in the Cup Series, I don't know how to fix what you don't like.
Right.
Okay, there's no explanation for it. You're going to find people that just aren't going to be happy regardless. Earlier in the year, NASCAR announced a caution clock for the Truck Series, and everybody was up in arms and how you're manipulating the finish. I'm hearing, there were no cautions on Sunday, man. How come we had to sit there and watch cars just go around in circles?
You know, we
Really?
should bring the caution clock in. And,
Really?
yeah.
So we had one of the longest green flag runs we've had in the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Guys were able to work on their cars. The pit crews did outstanding jobs. Our personal team, we averaged 11.2 seconds for our pit stops throughout the day.
Wow.
11.2
that's
seconds.
large.
Okay, that was competitive with 20, 25 other teams under green flag conditions. Only one yellow flag stop to where, not that our guys slow down under yellow, but you have a chance to just kind of catch your breath.
Yeah, you know you're not in danger of losing a lap.
Guys were having to manage tires. Everything was available from the apron to the wall. Cars were fast in the first 20 laps that weren't fast in the last 20 laps. The leaders were able to fight each other and not get stuck behind each other. The weather was spectacular.
Guys who were good were still good.
Yeah. You had guys that qualified back outside the top 15. 5 of them finished in the top 10. Guys that qualified up front finished outside the top 10. What more do you like? The only thing that didn't happen, Dale Jr. didn't win the race.
He almost did.
He tried.
He was right there.
He really
was
did.
in second. Absolutely, he did.
But the call of the race was simply made to get Jimmie Johnson at the very second to last stop. Was the pit strategy to short pit, really, really short pit.
Yeah, like 15 laps or more before everybody
we talk about
else.
short pitting, and that means a fuel run might be 40 laps. You're going to bring your guy in at lap 30 or 32 because the tires are done.
Yeah.
We usually pit when we need fuel versus when we pit when we need tires. We pit early.
This time it was the opposite.
Exactly. We were pitting because we had plenty of fuel. We needed more gas or
you
more
can go,
tires.
low to mid-50s on fuel, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Chad Canals calls Jimmie down pit road for their last stop way early. He's able to make a mongantuous run out in front of
Wait, a mongantuous?
You heard me.
What? Oh, my goodness. We need to get a dictionary sponsor in here.
A thesaurus.
Yeah. You're a walking thesaurus.
He got a way big lead out in front of the second place, Kevin Harvick, who after the pit sequence was 12, 15, 16 seconds behind. And Kevin tried to charge and run him down. It didn't happen. The yellow ended up coming out. Jimmie comes down pit road first, goes out first. The rest is history. He gets his 76th win.
Interestingly, though, the 4 team, Rodney Childers and the team was telling him, you got time, you'll be able to catch him, because what we had seen all day long was that Kevin Harvick didn't bolt out there like some guys, but on the longer runs he had conserved his tires and he would be up there. This time it didn't work out so much. Why?
I think Jimmie did a really good job. We were actually in front of the leader. I was trying to stay on the lead lap with fresher tires, and Jimmie's speed was really, really good. He managed his tires and kept speed in the car, which would have been, had we gone green to the end of the race would have been the longest run of the entire day. As it was when that caution came out, it was still our longest run. But he kept his speed, managed his tires really good, and the fall off wasn't as good. Now, Kevin may have given up some time at the end of his run because he was so aggressive getting there, because his times were really fast catching Jimmy. But either way, Jimmy did a really good job. We were about a 6 second, just over 5 seconds. Jimmy was ahead of Kevin when that caution came out. He wouldn't have caught him there with the laps remaining.
Right, because he cut a chunk off the gap, but then it kind of leveled off, and he stayed where he was.
Yep, he was only running 2 to 3 tenths quicker, not every lap based on traffic, but Jimmy was able to stay out in front and was going to win the race if the race goes green.
Yeah.
Ended up winning the race after the caution. We got our first official look at overtime at Atlanta, and it all played out exactly the way. The caution came out. We raced back to the white. The white flag was taken by the leader. Boom, race is over. Jimmy wins the race.
Absolutely. As he says, it was mongantuous along the way. Now, we want you to play along with us as well on Twitter at MRN Radio. Mine is at WY Cain. His is at TwoSpotter, and use that hashtag AskMRN if you have a question or comment about the race. We'll get to that through the show as we go along. But the strategy call that Joey was mentioning there by Chad Knaus was the key to the race. I had a chance to talk with Chad in Victory Lane following the win.
I knew that we wouldn't be able to pass those guys if we didn't try to do something creative on pit road. We were just about as fast as one of them in one corner and just about as fast as the other in the other, but we weren't faster than both in both corners. So we just couldn't, we weren't going to be able to make it happen. And when we got to the points where we were solidly in our window, I was just like, well, let's go for it. My engineers and myself, we always talk about strategy and what to do, and we were like, well, if we want to go for the win, let's do this. And all we had to do was just try to stay close enough to the leader to get our lead lap back. We went a lap down. And we were able to do that. Guys had a great pit stop. And I think it was within 7 laps, maybe we got past the 4-car, and it worked out great. And we just kept on building on that lead. So it was good. It was a great call. The guys did a good job of feeding me information, and it was fantastic.
Interesting that he said, and this is to me the key, at least in part of the new low downforce package, in past races, past seasons, particularly last year with the rules package we had, that card would not likely have worked, because you had such a tire fall off. The low downforce package magnified it even more. And here's Chad Knaus saying, well, do you want to ride where we are, or do you want to try and win? And that prompted the call.
Well, one of the things, too, is the entire day we only had one caution. So based on the past history of just that race alone, which was very peculiar, he was able to take that gamble. The performance of the car paid off. Because you actually do almost go a lap down, doing that pit stop far enough behind the leader, but the speed was able to make it up. He knew everybody else was going to have to pit. If the caution comes out exactly at the wrong time, all their gambling pays off. But this goes back to the fact that if the chase started now,
I knew you were going to get
that's
there.
it.
I knew
they're
it.
in. All they cared about was winning, and that's what this whole point system's about. Chad Knaus, for 76 times with Jimmy Johnson's career, has proven they're pretty good on performance and strategy, and it worked out for them. But that was their call. It didn't matter if they ran third, second, fourth. Who cares?
Right.
The win is what's mattered. Even if the gamble doesn't pay off, we know how good their performance is. They had a really good test in Vegas, so they have that looking forward to it. We need to just go all in and see if we can win this race at Atlanta. It was a great call. It paid out. Jimmy did a great job and still had to restart there with 2 laps to go to get by Kevin or to maintain the lead on the restart.
Absolutely. Jimmy Johnson, we spoke with in Victory Lane as well. Here's what he had to say yesterday.
I'm like, I feel you. It's aggressive. I was running through the scenarios in my mind and knew that it gave us a chance to win. At the same time, I think if it didn't pan out, we would have ended up second or third where we were kind of running anyway. So I thought it was a great call. And then, more and more laps went by and those guys never pitted. I'm like, are we on a two-stop strategy at the end? I didn't know what was going on. And I felt like we were in a bad situation being out so many more laps in front of those guys. But in the end, it turned out, we had a 5-second gap that we could manage. So it's just so hard being the hunted in the car and the mindset with that. And the fastest cars coming. They've been so fast all day long and just trying to figure out how to stay up front.
Jimmy Johnson wins it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. second. Kyle Busch was third. Kurt Busch fourth. Carl Edwards rounds out the top 5. Kyle Busch continues to lead the standings now by 3 over Martin Truex Jr. and by 4 over Kevin Harvick. Obviously, with only 2 races, things still very close. Already a Twitter comment. Jay Nelson says the race was awesome. The new package highlights setups, tire and fuel management strategies. Hashtag old school. Hashtag now go west.
Our top 3 finishers all qualified outside the top 15. That's pretty interesting.
It is.
So to say that the racing was boring, Jimmy drove through the field. Dale Jr. drove through the field. Kyle Busch drove through the field, starting dead last. I don't know what else. Again, we got back to it earlier. He started 39th.
Yeah.
To say you could – this doesn't happen last year.
It doesn't. You're right.
Those three cars don't finish first, second, and third, referencing the field, unless a miraculous pit crawl, something else happens. But they don't drive through the field like they were able to yesterday, and that's what the low downforce package allows. Allows the faster car to pass the slower car and not get stuck in that bubble.
Absolutely. We have a Mongantua show for you today, as Joey said earlier. Coming up next, Brandon Jones from the Xfinity Series will be here. He's fourth in the standings in the early going from Richard Childress Racing. John Hunter Nemechek will be in studio with us to talk about his win in the Camping World Truck Series, and he has now all but locked himself into the chase that they're having for the first time ever in the Truck Series. On track, off track comes up a little bit later on, and we've got some good things to tell you about there. And before we go to break, congratulations, by the way, to Atlanta Motor Speedway. What they've put together with Quick Trip, the Folds of Honor, the way they did the Media Center, it was absolutely letter perfect, right in their wheelhouse, right in the Media Center there. It was absolutely what we should see everywhere if we could.
Yeah, accolades to the Media Center. They actually made it like a little Quick Trip.
Yeah, it was great.
And then during the race, the ceremony for the Folds of Honor was explained to everybody. I myself had never been educated on the steps of the folding, exactly what it means. Very, very onerous to be part of that. And it was actually, again, perfect day for racing. If you missed out at Atlanta Motor Speedway, it's your own fault.
Absolutely. Chamber of Commerce weather to boot. All right, we'll take a timeout here on Motorsports Monday. When we come back, Brandon Jones.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. One per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
Hi, this is Eli Gold, the host of NASCAR Live. We've been taking your calls every Tuesday night for over 30 years, but now you don't have to wait for Tuesday. Call Motor Racing Network's fan hotline at 844-4-ASK-MRN.
I think Kyle Busch should be able to step right in and run for the championship if he gets a win. Just like any other sports figure, they're out for part of the season because of an injury. They come in, they win the championship, they win the trophy.
Be a part of the voice of NASCAR. Call 844-4-ASK-MRN.
Big news, fans of not boring things. NASCAR is coming to Phoenix for spring break. What's that going to be like? Imagine Dale Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Don't Hate the Champion, Hate the Game, Busch, barbecuing, camping, live racing, getting caught up in cheering way louder than you expected, tailgating games, unofficial night games we can't really talk about, live music, fist pumping, chest bumping, holy Harvick, how have we not done this before? The Good Sam 500, March 11th through the 13th. For tickets from only $25, visit phoenixraceway.com.
I'm Ryan Blaney, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with championship spotter Joey Meier and Woody Cain. Had world-class Joey Meier. I don't want to say that. It's on radio. You guys need to use that.
Take two.
To MRN Motorsports Monday with championship spotter and adequate pilot Joey Meier and Woody Cain.
We got a whole new list of them for folks to bust on Joey, and boy, that makes my day. If that doesn't brighten your day, I don't know what could. Let's talk a little Xfinity Series racing now. Joining us on the guest line is the man who is the leading rookie in the series after a 11th place finish at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Brandon Jones, 4th in the points, 6th out of the lead. He drove the Roland Chevrolet as part of that doubleheader on Saturday. Brandon, welcome to the program, man. Congratulations on a strong start.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on today.
Tell me about this race that we saw at Atlanta. Everybody was talking about tire management going in, and that certainly turned out to be the story, didn't it?
Absolutely. That place is nothing like any other mile and a half that I've ever raced on. You can run all over the place, but like you said, you really got to manage those tires. And I think it was like 3 or 2 second fall off, so it was a pretty big fall off on tires.
Yeah, just a handful of races last year, but we're able to compete full-time now with Richard Childress Racing. You've got Mike Hillman Jr. as your crew chief. They gave us a mongantuous, as I said earlier, amount of
He
practice.
makes up words, Brandon. Don't be
words,
concerned. It'll be all right.
but we had a lot of practice on Friday. What direction did you and Mike work on? Was it a line? Was it a time? Was it tire management? How did you guys set your plan up on Friday?
Well, so some of these places, the rookies get like an extra set of tires, rookie set of tires. So that first set of practice, we just went out there and burned those up, which was only about 20 laps. That's all it takes to really knock all of those tires off. But we went out there and just tried to figure the track out first. And then we started working on just running the bottom all day because I knew, you're really going to have to try to pass because I knew people were going to be trying to moving around in 1 and 2, going to the top or middle and everything. So we really tried to work on getting our car to work down there, and I think that was our main goal for sure the whole weekend.
Tell me a little bit about the way this progressed, because several guys, you included, had some success up on the high line eventually, but it didn't seem to work on restarts.
Not really. Some of these, it's kind of interesting. Some of these places that you go to that you can run all those multiple grooves, it's like if you get new tires or something, it's always on the bottom those first, 5-10 laps, and then you can start moving around again. But for whatever reason, it's always that fast lay on the bottom for just a few laps.
What issues we had started 19th, I believe. What issues did you experience in qualifying, and were you able to make those qualifying runs on Friday during the practice?
Yeah, we made a couple of runs in practice, and we kind of fought the same thing in the actual qualifying session on Saturday. It was just too tight. I think all of our RCR cars were too tight, is what everyone was kind of saying. So that was something to keep in mind there. But we fought back up. I think it was probably 20, 30 laps in the race. We were already sitting sixth, so I was pretty happy about that.
Tell me a little bit about working with this team. You got some races under your belt last year, obviously, but now you're running the full campaign, Rookie of the Year candidate, the leading rookie right now. The communication between you and Mike Hillman Jr. and just getting used to everything now as you're going to run for the full season.
So far it's been great. We've had, a couple of great finishes already during the season. So I think it's been working really good. Been bonding with the guys pretty well. So looking forward to the next, couple of races coming up. But it's like anything, you move to a new team, you got to learn everyone's new styles and how he kind of relays information and how he takes it. So that's kind of been a big things that we've been trying to work on. And so that'll play, I think, a big thing, midway through the year.
Besides the pit road little incident, which is just a deal, everybody happens. My driver run over his guys last year, so it's not that big of a deal. What other surprises were there during the race that caught you off guard from Friday?
Definitely the pit road thing. We practice that, try to every week, and just try to practice a couple of green flag stops during practice because, you're going to have a couple of those. And so I thought I nailed my green flag stop. But for whatever reason, that first one was just a little bit surprising, I guess, at first. I think that was the biggest thing, really. I knew we were going to fight tight probably all day, so we were just trying to free the car up as much as we could. Each stop we came in and not try to overdo it. So those were the two biggest things I think we took away from it.
Chatting with Brandon Jones, who drove the Roland Chevrolet Saturday at Atlanta Motor Speedway for Richard Childress Racing, fourth in the standings, the leading rookie in the series. Brandon, how comforting is it to you with this full campaign now to have the wealth of support around you in terms of 3 Cup teammates, a lot of guys there who have been through the Xfinity Series. Austin Dillon won a championship there to pick their brains and get some information on as you go to some of these places for the first time.
It's such a relief, honestly. Like last year, we ran, so many different series. We bounced around so much, and it really didn't give me enough time, I felt like, to really kind of get acclimated to a certain type of car. And now this year being full-time in the Xfinity Series, I think I'm going to have a good chance of really getting to know these cars. I'm going to have, Mike as a crew chief all year on that car, so it'll be really good to be able to have them just every single race. And like you said, all the teammates. Every time I get out of the car now, it's like, hey, do you need any help, or what can we help you with, from everyone. So it's been a big help, big relief this season.
Yeah, I was going to follow that question up with: is there one driver in the RCR area that you've picked up on? Do you guys drive similar, or is everybody different, or is it really you're on your own with you and Mike, or how does those relationships work?
Last year I got to run the same car that Austin was running for a couple of races with RCR, and I think our styles were really similar. We got to do a couple of tests with him last year, and the same information that he was saying, I was saying too. So we had pretty similar styles. So we tried to go to the racetrack each weekend, pretty similar to his car, and that's kind of our baseline, anyways.
Look ahead for us now. You head to Las Vegas Motor Speedway next, and what's your experience level there, and what can we look for? Because everybody who's been talking about what we've seen in off-season testing says, man, Vegas is fast.
That is a fast racetrack. I think we're going to be pretty good, honestly. Last year we got to run the truck race there, and I think we ended up fifth or so. We were in top 5 all day, and we challenged for the lead a couple of times. So I think we're going to have a really good run there. Big thing to watch there is the dust, though, on the racetrack. It'll be pretty slippery for a couple of laps.
Yeah, we're definitely out in the desert. Everybody has to make the comment about being the dry heat. But when you go to Vegas, we look for the long runs.
So is a convection oven, by the way.
Exactly. You don't stick your hand in it.
Right, right.
But you go to Vegas and you have long runs, kind of like we did in Atlanta. Doesn't give you a lot of time to talk during the race with your crew chief, Mike Hillman. How much time do you have outside the race car to sit down with Mike and try to get communication going?
Well, really, like you said, you get those green flag runs, and you don't get much time to really tune on your race car all race. So, you really got to work hard in practice, and then make sure you're getting it dialed in for what you're going to be experiencing that next day. So, that's kind of a couple of things that I'm starting to learn too as I get in this series. Is just really make sure you get that car good and ready before you enter that race.
Now, I got to ask you, headed to Vegas, you're a young guy. Are you a Mr. Blackjack player? Are you a sightseer going to the Hoover Dam? You going to take in some shows? What's in store for you in Vegas off the track?
Man, I can't do much, that's for sure. Last year I played the Hotel 250 and just sat in the room all weekend long and hung out. But I don't know. We'll have to see what all is coming up, and maybe we can get to something like you said, a show or something. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, there are some really good ones.
One of the things you guys have done this year, and again, it's off track, I guess, you guys picked up a new aviation travel plan. You're flying over at Victory Air. My wife's on that. She wanted to say hello. Glad you were on the show with that. Looking forward to taking you out to Vegas. But it's interesting, the young group of drivers. We have a driver sitting outside our door that's going to be with us here in just a minute with John Hunter Nemechek. I'm partaking friendships with Ryan Blaney, and I see how he hangs out. Do you guys have a core group of people that you hang out with as other drivers, or do you stay away from knowing you're going to have to compete against those guys?
Yeah, that's kind of my thought. You see all these kind of groups hanging out and everything, but you get out there on that racetrack and start bumping each other around a little bit, then everyone's mad, So I try to stay away from being too close to everyone. Every once in a while I'll talk to, a couple of them. Me and John have talked a lot. We're pretty close friends, I could say, but I try to stay away from hanging out really outside of the track,
That's right, because sooner or later you're going to be staring them in the eye on the racetrack competition-wise.
Absolutely.
That's Brandon Jones, 11th place finish at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the number 33 car at Richard Childress Racing. He is the leading rookie in the series, 4th in the standings overall, and just 6 points out of the lead as we get set to head on that western swing. Brandon, congratulations on the strong start. Look forward to seeing you out west.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
There you go. What a good start. It's great to see all the young faces in the standings. We talked a lot about it last year, but Brandon, the only rookie in the top 10 right now.
The only rookie. Still can't buy beer. Like our next guest, John Hunter Nemechek.
I love that, the Hotel 250 he talked about.
Well, because Vegas doesn't offer up things he can partake in, so he's going to stay out of trouble. But it's amazing to know, with 5 starts last year, his first full-time full ride in the Xfinity Series, the only rookie in the top 5 in points with 2 solid finishes under the RCR banner, but tons of information is wrapping around him, keeping him secure, kind of like a mother's blanket. When you go to that track, you're not scared because everywhere you look, you got great teammates. And that information just floods you and prepares you to go out there. You're on your own with you and Mike Hillman, but you go out there with the information that, man, I really have a lot of encyclopedia of stuff behind me.
The mother's blanket. You're turning some phrases today. I'm liking that. Let's take a look at the standings right quick in the Xfinity Series. Elliott Sadler leads the way. Daniel Suarez 3 points back. He's had another strong start. Ty Dillon 3rd in the standings, as we mentioned. Brandon Jones 4th, and Justin Allgaier over at Junior Motorsports now 5th in the standings as they get set to head out to Las Vegas. As we head to break here, let's take you to the winner of the Xfinity Series race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kyle Busch got the victory there. When we come back on the other side of the break, John Hunter Nemechek will be live in studio with us.
Anytime you're able to check another one off the list, it seems to be a good day for us. So, there's not many left to go, but certainly they're always something that we want to be able to achieve. So this was just one of those weekends where we unloaded, and Chris Gale and all the guys did a great job. All 3 of our Toyota Camrys were really fast, and I knew it was going to be a race of trying to keep up with the racetrack and keep up with the adjustments for our car, and Chris did a great job of that, and we were just able to stay ahead of Larson. Larson obviously had really good long run speed. We definitely had a bit more on the short runs, so can't say enough about being back with NOS Energy Drink, being back in victory lane with them, our first start back together, and being back in the 18 also, and scoring that first Xfinity Series win for Joe Gibbs Racing here for Toyota.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
Be the winner of your next family dinner. Choose Creekstone Farms Premium Black Angus Beef, proud sponsor of MRN. Act fast because while supplies last, you can get 2 delicious beef brisket flats for just $79.99. That's a savings of almost $30. Plus, receive free shipping with your online order of $100 or more. No coupon code required. Get first place taste with our superior quality beef and pork products, all raised and grazed in the USA. Visit us today at creekstonefarms.com.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
The grill is hot and the cooler is cold at America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA. Join us each weekend as your host and head chef Rob Tanner serves up the hottest hits and country music, and Steve Post drops by with NASCAR news straight from the sport's top garages and shops. We have 2 hours of country music at the speed of sound, getting you ready for NASCAR racing. Rev up your weekend at America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA.
I'm Matt DiBenedetto, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meier and Woody Cain. I wonder if Woody uses shampoo.
White flag is in the air. John Hunter Nemechek trying to grab the win, leads the field back to turn 1, but he's got company.
And the form of Cameron Haley, Timothy Peters, a couple of truck lengths back, side by side with Ben Rhodes for 4th, but it's John Hunter Nemechek, 4 truck lengths, the lead for him at the front of the field, onto the back straightaway.
Third on back, stacked up. John Hunter Nemechek, sporting a 2 truck length advantage, buries that truck on the bottom yellow line for the final time of turn number 4. John Hunter Nemechek sets sail for victory lane.
Swings it wide off the corner, dives into the double dog leg, checkered flag in the air. 18-year-old John Hunter Nemechek wins the Great Clips 200 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
How about that? That sounds pretty good. And John Hunter Nemechek live in the studio with us now after that victory. Man, the last time we went to Atlanta, you couldn't drive because you weren't old enough to drive that track. Your dad does it. He gets a top 10. And Matt Crafton waxes the field. This time, it looks like he might do that again. And toward the end of that thing, it turned into mayhem and pandemonium. And at the end, you're the guy smiling.
Yeah, I definitely was smiling. It was pandemonium there. I'm surprised we got through that wreck with no damage, but it's awesome to be able to come out on top. I know how hard we worked for that. We weren't very good in practice, weren't very good in qualifying, and we just made it drive right in the race. We weren't worried about lap times, how fast we were. We just got it tight enough to where we could go forward, and we were going to be one of the ones at the end, even with Matt Crafton there. We restarted second, so the pit crew pretty much won us the race from bringing us, I think, from 12th to 6th and then 6th to 2nd. So
yeah.
They gained us quite a few spots on pit road.
Yeah, one of the things that, again, we went to Atlanta your first time. They gave us a lot of practice on Friday. What was your and Jerry Kennan, your crew chief's direction on Friday?
We didn't know what we wanted to do. After practice, we pretty much threw the whole kitchen sink at it. We were tight, we were loose, we just could not get the balance quite right, and we started looking over notes, and we went with a little bit different package than we ended up running last year. So we went back to our base package, and when we started off the race, we were a little bit free. So we had to tighten up all weekend after we got it loosened up.
Now, I talked to your dad as well, and you and he both were said you wanted a little bit more this way, he wanted a little bit more that way, and finally you guys were able to meet in the middle. Tell us about that process, because that's a track that to get the right feel may not necessarily be the fastest way around, right?
Yeah, no. I'm always looking for my feel on the certain racetracks that we go to. Dad, he's a little bit more old school. He likes a really tight race car, loves to turn the wheel, loves to run a slow steering box, where I grew up racing late models to where you had a faster steering box. You didn't have to turn the wheel as much, and you kind of knew that you wanted to be close to the free side, but you still wanted to be a little bit snug, so you're still tugging on the wheel, but you're not tight. So I knew what I was trying to feel. He knew what he was trying to get the feel to be in the truck, and luckily Jerry, he listens to me more than Dad at the racetrack, which is good. But no, we talked about adjustments, and we made it where it drove right.
Most drivers, when they show up, they have PR guys, pens, tablets.
What's he got? Look at that. He's got a tape measure.
You know
now,
why?
See, that's a working man right there. He doesn't just drive.
That's
he
what's so
works.
cool. He's got a tape measure. So we're bothering him. He's on his lunch break from the race shop.
That's
So
fantastic.
that's really cool. Did you see a big effort on your behalf on tire management during the race?
Most definitely. The first run, that was kind of the run that we figured out how hard we could actually push our truck and see how long the tires would last and see what the fall off ended up being. We fell off pretty quick. I got really, really free towards the middle to end of that run. I kept giving the guys, Jerry, Ken, and Dad, everyone information on what the truck was doing every probably 10 laps or so, just saying, hey, this is the direction it's going, this is what we need to do to fix it. And after that first stop, we literally had a laundry list of what we were going to do on pit road. We made the correct adjustments for the situation, but we figured out how hard I could push it at the start and then how hard the tires would fall off at the end, and we found that right balance.
That's what I was wondering about, because Christopher Bell was very fast, started up front, then had a tire issue, goes to the back, drives up to the front, and then has another tire issue. Is that, I know you're not inside another guy's head, but is that a case of being too aggressive with it or trying to push too hard to get back up there? I mean, that patience at a place where you're taught go, 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 go has got to be really tough.
Yeah, it definitely is. Patience is hard to learn. Luckily, running late models, you go back to short tracks where you have one set of tires for a 200-lap race. You have to manage them until the end. You can't spin the back tires. You can't abuse the right front. You have to make them last. And the best guy that does that is going to end up winning that race. So it's the same thing at Atlanta. That place eats tires up. We found that out on our first set in practice. We actually ended up running, I think, 80 laps on 2 sets of tires. So we actually did 2 full fuel runs trying to get our truck driving right just for the long, consistent runs. And we knew that that's what it was going to come down to in the race.
One of the things, we only ran 40, not even 40 in the Cup cars, to give you an idea of the length. Got a couple of 3 weeks off now after your big win with the new format in the Truck Series. We always like to say, if the chase started now, you guys are in it. Where do we stand on moving forward for the rest of the year as well as a sponsor?
Yeah, we're still trying to find funding for the rest of the year. There are some great things in the works, just trying to get the deals done. We're always
this helps.
It
This
does.
helps,
It
right?
does. A win definitely can't hurt you. But we're always trying to find new possible partners. We don't have all the races sold right now, so working really hard at that. I mean, we're gonna have to run every race now that we're locked in the chase. So really looking forward to that. But it's great to have that namesake on your behalf to be in the chase.
We asked you about this before, and Joey was teasing you about it there a minute ago, but you guys are a small organization. Now you've got your second trophy here, and I'm imagining, are you buying a big case and hoping to fill it up, or are you just trying to find places to put trophies for right now?
I'm taking over Dad's trophy case right now.
There you go.
So I'm moving some of his old trophies out, putting mine in. We were joking actually about that at the shop this morning about all the wind banners in the shop. He has a bunch of wind banners from his old Xfinity days, winning a bunch of races at Daytona, Atlanta, places like that. So we're going to have to start making room at the shop, take down some of his and put some of mine up.
But the coolest thing, though, is I was trying to get at is you guys – it's not like you've got a staff of 800 people there putting these trucks together. Basically, it's you and your dad and a handful of people, and you're one of the guys who are turning the wrenches on that truck, right?
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, I came here from the shop this morning. I was there at 7 a.m. this morning. We had a little team meeting, a little celebratory breakfast with everyone. So luckily, it's not too expensive to feed 12 guys in the shop, but we're all happy, and we actually have to go to the R&D center.
We just had Brandon Jones on the show, and one of the questions, and it's an amazingly young group of drivers in the garage in every single division we have. Because you're in the shop, you probably I know the answer, I think. Do you get to hang out with any of the other drivers? And if so, do you like hanging out with guys you drive against? Or would you rather stay in the other series and, in other words, hang out with the Xfinity guys or hang out with the Cup guys? Like a Ryan Blaney hangs out with Darrell Wallace. They're like buds. They're brothers from different parents. Do you have that relationship, or do you try to stay away from that?
I wouldn't say I have the relationship that they're almost brothers. I do hang out with quite a few guys from the Truck Series. Mostly during the summer, we all go out on the lake and hang out with each other after a race, after a weekend. But during the week, there's no time. I'm in the shop all the time. So there's definitely some guys that we hang out with. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. They always say keep your friends close and your enemies closer, right?
Absolutely. Now, let's look ahead. We go, as you mentioned, the Xfinity and Cup Series will go out west for their Western swing. You guys have a full month off. In that gap, what are you going to try to do? You're building new trucks. You're going to be running any late models. What's on your agenda?
Well, there is some talk that we might be running a couple late model races, just a couple local late model races, just to go out and keep getting seat time. I don't know how far that we're going to get with that, but at the same time, we're putting trucks together. We actually started on our Martinsville truck this morning. It just got back from paint, so we're assembling that right now. We're just going to keep focusing on the truck deal. We want to try some new things on the pull-down rig, a little bit new engineering stuff that we want to do a little bit of R&D with, see if it'll work, which hopefully it will, and it'll make us go faster.
One of the things, again, a lot of different rules and procedures here in the Truck Series. We got to experience 2 caution clocks. I stood on the roof and got to experience it. I liked it. What's your standpoint from behind the steering wheel?
It's interesting. There's a lot of strategy that plays into it, especially at Atlanta. I mean, tire wear is so bad. Before, you didn't know how long you were going to have to run on a set of tires. Now you can almost count down the caution clock to how hard you can run, but the pit crew comes into effect. You have to have a good pit crew at the caution clocks to gain track position. I mean, you can gain so much on the racetrack, but you also have to have that support on pit road. So I like the caution clock. I think it throws a whole different strategy in where you can gamble a little bit, especially at some of these bigger tracks. I mean, if you're leading, heck, why don't you pit or run in second and you're chasing down the leader? Why don't you pit before the caution clock? See if you can gain a little bit of track position, a little bit of time, and be able to start up front and not have to pit.
Yeah, we saw that at Daytona.
Yeah, but I talked to a couple of crew chiefs, 3 or 4 actually, at Atlanta about that, and they were saying, unlike Daytona, at Atlanta, if you were going to try that strategy, man, you had to be right on the razor's edge with it, because if you didn't come in at just the right time trying that strategy, you might wind up in the back and be out of contention before you can blink, right?
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, you have to know exactly what you're going to do. And that comes back to having a great crew chief on the box. Luckily, having Jerry Kennan, he's not afraid to gamble every once in a while. Sometimes it'll bite us in the butt. But having this chase seed, we don't have to necessarily worry about points anymore. Now we can focus on going to the racetrack to win races, to dominate, try new things for the chase, especially going to Martinsville. I mean, we run there during the chase, so we want to try new things in order to be better for the end of the year.
I was going to say, Joey, one of the things he always talks about and mentions is good points day is kind of disappearing. Is that out of your vocabulary now?
I wouldn't say it's out of our vocabulary. Definitely during the race, Jerry came on the radio. He said, don't put it in a bad position. We can make this a great points day, because, you know, if you don't have 8 winners in the Truck Series, they're going to take the top points guy. And also, we're going for owner's points. The chase isn't included in the owner's points deal, so we want to win both championships, and that's what we're going to try and do.
You know, one of the things you're going forward now, you have a little bit of a break. You do race Martinsville, which is more of a track that you're accustomed to running. Atlanta was your first time there, completely different observation from Atlanta to Martinsville. Do you look forward to going to Martinsville?
Most definitely. That was where I made my NASCAR Cain World Truck Series debut when I was only 16 years old. So I always look forward to going back to short tracks. It's a lot of fun to be able to go back there. I mean, that's what I grew up racing. So Martinsville has always been good to me. I've always run good there, so look forward to it.
Now, from a strategy standpoint, you mentioned particularly at the 1.5 miles trying to play the strategy on the caution clock. What about at a short track? Do you have some ideas of how it might play out there? I mean, obviously you got to see it first, but it's going to be a little bit of a different ball game there, right?
Yeah, it most definitely is. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how it's going to work. I know last year at all the short tracks, I don't think we would have had one caution clock just from going back and looking at lap times and how far we actually went on laps. So who knows what it's going to bring. We could all run clean there at Martinsville and have one. Who knows?
Stop.
Yeah.
He's trying to give you an honest answer, and you're busting on him. Look at that now. He brought the trophy with him. 2-time winner in the Camping World Truck Series at Nemco Motorsports, John Hunter Nemechek. Now looking forward to getting back on track at Martinsville on April 2nd. We'll have that one for you right here on Motor Racing Network. Congratulations, man. Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys for having me.
Time out. When we come back, on track, off track, and more. Stick around.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. One per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
NASCAR Cain and Pro Series East opened up, and it was Todd Gilliland picking up the race win.
This is NASCAR Coast to Coast.
How do you keep it all in perspective? You're a 15-year-old. You got to be able to enjoy things at the age of 15 other than racing.
Yes, my mom makes sure that I keep my grades up. It makes it a lot less stressful to miss school because you can just do it online and then hand it in next day at school. Teachers still don't like me very much because I still have to miss quite a bit of school. They understand it, and they've got my back.
NASCAR Coast to Coast every Wednesday at noon at MRN.com.
Business is a lot like racing. It takes a strong team of pros to succeed. That's why Freightliner Trucks created TeamRunSmart.com, a free online community that connects owner-operators with the trucking industry's A-team. The Team Run Smart pros and coaches help maximize your profitability with real-world advice on everything from fuel-efficient speccing to healthy eating to filing taxes. Sign up today to earn rewards and connect with fellow truckers at TeamRunSmart.com.
Waking up to smells of burnt rubber, smoldering campfire, and barbecue sauce. I was there, cheering on the drivers you love and booing the ones you don't, while watching them battle the baddest track in NASCAR. You can bet I was there. Escape reality for a weekend at Talladega.
Experience the Geico 500 April 29th through May 1st. Call 877-GO-TO-DEGA or visit TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
I'm Landon Castle, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meier, and Woody Cain. Yes, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meier and Woodward Cain. Those guys, is this a country? This is a country band, isn't it?
Woody's Roundup, come on and gather round.
Okay, so finally they bust on me instead of you for a change, and I know that makes you happy.
I'm just glad they know who we are.
Yeah. Well, they're busting. And Matt DiBenedetto asked me if I use shampoo. No, dude, it's just soap. I don't need shampoo. I'm trying to save a few dollars.
A polisher.
That's right. Just a chamois.
That's it.
Like we got right here from
Exactly.
The Folds of Honor. You can just kind of shine it up, right?
You should wear that.
You okay?
I'm good. I'm good.
Well, that was a good interview with John Hunter Nemechek,
Yeah.
right? How does that team, as a young, telegenic guy like that who speaks well, a family history like that, not have a sponsor?
One of the things that's unique about this sport is we try to win. He's winning.
He is.
He's winning. He needs to continue to have funding to keep winning.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever can get on board, get John Hunter Nemechek, put your decal on the side of his truck, and you'll be up in victory lane.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. It's one of those frustrating things. We see a lot of people that have sponsors that do really good representing their sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have 40 winners every week. He's one of them, though. He wins.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple. It's really simple.
There you go. Joey's laid it out for you. Now, when we talked about back to the Sprint Cup Series, Jimmy Johnson winning that race, his first of the season. He's locked into the chase. I don't want to say it this way, but I will, yada, yada, yada. A lot of what folks were focusing on after the race was the fact that he tied Dale Earnhardt, Hall of Famer, 7-time champion, with his 76th career victory, and he has the 3 celebration afterwards. He spoke about how meaningful that was following the race.
Gosh, it's hard to, I entered the sport just hoping I could win a race and keep a job for a few years. And to have 76 and tie Dale Earnhardt Sr. is something I'm very, very proud of. And I didn't have a chance to race against him, unfortunately. But today, there's been a big void in my mind about not having that chance to race against him. And it was literally, a handful of months away from having that opportunity. So to tie him today, for myself personally, gives me a little something. It's a little bit of attachment to the great Dale Earnhardt, and something I'm very proud of.
One of the cool things about Jimmy Johnson that a lot of folks don't realize is how appreciative he is of the history of the sport and how it got to where it is. And a lot of folks think, oh, well, Jimmy's just a robot. He doesn't have that much personality. That's a bunch of hooey. If you've ever talked to the guy for any length of time, you know. I can remember one time he stood in the back of the hauler, the MRN hauler with us, swapping Caddyshack lines for like 30 minutes. So that's just not true at all, folks who think that about him. And plus, great drivers have an appreciation for the history of the sport, and Jimmy certainly does.
Absolutely. The interesting thing about Jimmy is he's in a class of the Darrell Waltrips, the Dale Earnhardts, the Jeff Gordons, and what do they have in common? They all got booed at the pinnacle, the top of their career. Then at the end of the career, back when Darrell wasn't running as good with less funded teams, Jeff Gordon when he retired, and Dale Earnhardt after he passes away, then everybody cheers him and talks about how great they are. There's 152 wins, 13 championships amongst Dale Earnhardt and Jimmy Johnson. It doesn't get any better. Jimmy Johnson is simply the best driver in our era from 2001 till now that we've had, and we don't appreciate. I say we. I appreciate it. I think he's great. But simply the fact to boo him and not be able to share and appreciate it in accolades of his performance is unheard of. We saw the performance that he put up against the best drivers in the field with the Kevin Harvicks and the Martin Truexes and Kurt Busches. He dominated his era of where he's been. And I still say, I'm on record right here. 8 championships he will have if him and Chad can stay together. I thought Jeff would have had more championships if him and Ray Evernham would have stayed together. And I thought they could have had more if him and Robbie Loomis would have stayed together. But it's a team sport. So with Jimmy and Chad staying together, I still think they can get 8 championships.
He's certainly young enough. He's certainly got a competitive enough team. And now this new package, even he says, better suits the way he likes to drive versus what we had the last couple of seasons.
He came out of the truck, the Super Truck Dirt Series, racing sideways and motorbike. This is right up his alley. This, you talk about a wheelhouse. This is his wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
That's where yes, perfect.
By the way, folks, want to remind you that Jimmy Johnson will be a guest on NASCAR Live Tuesday night at 7 Eastern. However, because of his schedule and the guy being run all over the country and this show and that show and all the obligations he has, he's going to call in a little bit early, but you can participate as well. You can call in 1-800-262-7227 if you have a question with Jimmy Johnson. That's Tuesday morning at 9:30. He'll be on with Eli Gold. They'll replay it on NASCAR Live Tuesday night at 7 Eastern time, so make sure you're a part of that if you want to get a question in to the 6-time champion after his big win at Atlanta Motor Speedway. All right, let's talk a little on-track, off-track action because there was a lot of good stuff going on at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Finally, some Chamber of Commerce weather at Atlanta, and it was a great time by all. However, let's start off with a little bit of on-track action from your perspective.
Big monumental announcement with Stuart.
Wait, that's not the word.
Monganuous.
There you go.
Stewart Haas Racing switching manufacturers to Ford. What that does is it puts all of the other Ford teams, Penske, Roush, Front Row, all the other Ford teams on notice, saying, hey, you're not really doing a good enough job. We want to get better. So we're going to go out and get other teams to get better. Roush put on notice. They performed very well. We saw a 3rd place, a 5th place, 3 cars of their Roush operation in the top 15 qualifying. Kudos to Jack Roush and those guys at Roush Fenway.
A nice top 10 run for Ricky Stenhouse.
Picking up the performance. They have to. They've been put on notice. Their performance hasn't been that good. Boom. They stepped to the plate. We showed up at Atlanta, and we increased our performance for Roush Fenway. Ricky Stenhouse, one of the few cars that ran top 15 all day long. Every lap of the race was in the top 15, and that's good for those guys. That's what we need to see from Roush Fenway. We don't want to see another company go out of business, and that's going to happen because it can happen if your performance isn't good enough. Sponsors don't want to give you money. We saw John Hunter Nemechek's looking for a sponsor. He's going to probably get one because he's winning. If you're not performing well, you simply disappear. The sport has amnesia. It's what have you done for me lately? And it's been a lately long time for Jack Roush and those guys to perform. They picked it up at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
They've been very optimistic that they've gotten a little bit better with this new package and on their intermediate stuff, which is the bread and butter of the series, of course. But that's certainly something that we're going to keep an eye on as we go forward. All right, my on-track is that low downforce package. I know we saw, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, a lot of folks saying that they wanted a caution or it was boring or this or that. Hogwash. These guys were slipping and sliding all over the track. You can say they were strung out, but that's because the guys who figured it out were up front. Also, the main thing to me that I watched and noticed is that you now, and you and I have talked about this many times, before the winner was dictated by who could get clean air on the nose and run off and hide from the field, because you had to have a supremely better car to drive around the leader under these circumstances. Now you see guys driving up on another car, loosening him up, he wobbles, and that car can then drive by. We saw that numerous times through the race at Atlanta. Granted, that track is more abrasive. It's going to chew up tires. It requires more tire management, but that scenario is going to be played out through the season because of this low downforce package, and there's guys calling for even less downforce as we go forward. This may be just a first step of many that we'll see to put more of this back in the driver's hands. You want it to be more related to driver skill than aerodynamics.
5 of your top 10 drivers started outside the top 15 with only one yellow flag pit stop. The only way to get up there is to drive through the field.
Yeah.
That's it. They were able to catch cars and pass them, and that's what this low downforce package allows them. There are drivers that want even more downforce, and there's going to be a limit. You got to have some downforce when you're going 190 miles an hour.
Right.
Goodyear has an amazing chore ahead of them, because now, last year and before, we used to run the same tire essentially in all 3 series. Now with this low downforce package, Goodyear is actually having to split their manufacturing process with Cup car tires with low downforce, and then we have Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series tires.
Funny that you brought that up, because we had a chance to talk with Greg Stucker, who's the head honcho for Goodyear Racing Tires at the track. We see him every week. He talked about what we're going to see. This will be number 15 here. Greg Stucker talking about their tires that they're trying to develop with this new low downforce package.
You know, it's a significant change when you talk about the amount of downforce that's coming off the race cars. So it's a pretty significant change in what we've done from a grip perspective. But at the same time, you know, we've got a pretty good database on where we've been over the years, so we can kind of backtrack and say, okay, we were running this level of downforce, you know, back in 2011, 2012. So where were we, you know, with regard to tires at that point? So we can kind of go back in our history and try to figure out where we think we need to be. And of course, like I said, with these constructions, we've been bringing them along, so it's not a flip of the switch, and this is what's driven, you know, those changes in constructions. That's something we've been working on.
There you go, Greg Stucker from Goodyear talking about the challenge that they have to develop a tire that will match this low downforce package, because it's not just slap on last year's tire and go. That won't work.
No, it would work for about 10 laps, you know, and then we have a big issue and we're complaining about what Goodyear does. So the simply fact that they have 2 different directions with the Xfinity Camping World on one side and this low downforce Cup car, we're going to go sailing off into Las Vegas Motor Speedway next week at over 200 miles an hour on a new tire. It's not some old tire that they brought out and been sitting in the warehouse for 10 years back when the downforce was similar to what we had 10 years ago. It's a new production manufacturer designed tire that we went out earlier in the year to have a tire confirmation test. Brad in the 48 and then Kurt Busch, I believe, some other drivers. We were able to confirm that what they'd done was good, a little bit cooler temperatures, so our speeds were a little faster than we expect here in the race. But this track will show you an exaggerated Atlanta Speedway, I believe, because Atlanta's a little higher banking, holds the cars a little bit better. Las Vegas is a little bit shallower banking. We're going to see a little
more. But not
as
abrasive.
Not as abrasive, but you're still going to see a little slipping and sliding like we did at Atlanta.
All right, let's talk a little bit now about off-track, what we think might not be going quite so well.
A couple years ago, Martin Truex Jr. is a listener of the show, and we called him out. We said, hey, you got to pick up your performance. Either poop or get off the pot. Make up your mind.
Yeah.
Boom. Makes the chase, contends for a championship, switches to Toyota. We've seen him run up front. Now it's time to do the same thing. Even though my on-track was Roush Fenway, my off-track is Roush Fenway Racing. It's time to make up your mind that you want to get better in the sport, because Ford is saying, hey, we're going to go over here and give some of our money to Stewart-Haas Racing. We expect big things from them. If you want to keep partaking in this sport that we call NASCAR, it's time to elevate yourselves. You got young drivers with Ricky Stenhouse and Trevor and Darrell in the Xfinity Series and Chris Buescher at front row. We've got the leadership and guidance and experience with Greg Biffle. They have all the tools. It's still a team sport. We talk about it on this show 100 times. It's a team sport. You're a menu. It's a recipe. You're cooking dinner when you get home. It takes a little bit of salt and a little bit of paprika and pepperoni or pepper, whatever. See,
what are you cooking here?
I just messed up the recipe. It was that simple.
See how easy it is to get off track?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my point is, it's time for Roush Fenway for 2016 with the new downforce package to take the step and get back to where they used to be. At Michigan International Speedway, it was Roush Fenway owned that place. We haven't talked about him in years.
Yeah.
It's time for Greg or Ricky or Trevor to go there and pick up Roush Performance where they used to be and be able to compete. I want to be able to race against them. When I beat a Roush Fenway car now, I don't really think much about it back in previous years. I want to see Ricky Stenhouse running in the top 15 all day long. I want to see Trevor Bain getting up there, past Daytona 500 winner. Greg Biffle, multiple-time Sprint Cup winner. Truck Series Xfinity champion. He needs to compete. Those guys, it's time to pick it up.
I think we've seen in the early part of the season some indications that they have begun to turn the corner. Good qualifying at Daytona. I know that's apples and oranges versus what we run every week, but you mentioned the good qualifying efforts they had at Atlanta. Ricky Stenhouse turns in a top 10 performance there. It appears early on like they are headed in the right direction, but more evidence is needed since we've only run 2 races. All right, my off track is the folks who, as we mentioned in the beginning of the show, are complaining on the one hand about having a caution clock and how artificial that is in the Camping World Truck Series. Then we get to the Cup Series, all kinds of great slipping and sliding around, and the first thing you hear is, this is boring. They're all strung out. Nobody's doing anything. We need some cautions. Well, do you want artificial stuff or do you not want artificial stuff? They take away the gimmicks. The guys are slipping and sliding around, can drive by each other. What we've been screaming for a couple of years now, and there are still folks who are unhappy with it. We got a tweet from Briar Starr, a good viewer of the program. I thought today's race was great, he says. Talks about people complain about the caution clock during the truck race, saying they get rid of it, and then they want it in the Cup Series, which probably won't happen. His point is, it's real racing. We've gone back to that. It's what everybody's been clamoring for, and now we've gotten it. So I don't know. I think maybe sometimes negative stuff gets more attention than positive stuff, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease type theory. The people who are complaining are more visible than those who are satisfied and maybe not saying anything. But I think at some point there is a certain element of fans in the sport who you're not going to please.
I did a little poll on Twitter after the race. It was simply low downforce package, yes or no. 300 people plus called in or applied, answered, whatever word. 16% said no, they didn't like it. I'm like, it's still a pretty good percentage of people that liked it. But to your point, there's 15% that didn't like the race.
And are vocal.
Yeah. What do you want? Like what? There were only 10 cars in the lead lap. That means a lot of passing went on because those 10 guys fought all day with one caution flag to pass all these other cars. The leader of the race didn't lead the most laps. He had a strategy based on the fastest car was trying to run him down in second, trying to manage his tires up front. He was able to – I don't know what else you want.
Right. I'll give you an example. You hear people who are going, we got to have a caution. We got to have a caution. And then there's a piece of debris on the track. I don't know what it was. It looked like a cup.
Sure.
I don't know if that's what it was or not. And then it turns to, what? They're throwing a caution for a cup. Are you kidding me? So which is it? Take your pick.
Mr. Moody calls them just haters, and there's some guys are just going to hate to hate. That's all. That's what they get up in life, and they're just going to be haters. And it doesn't matter if Jimmy won, Dale Jr. won, Danica Patrick won. They were going to hate yesterday's race because that's what they woke up to do.
Haters going to hate. Let's take one more break here on Motorsports Monday. We'll look forward to Las Vegas when we come back and get into our fan forum hotline a little bit. Stick around.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. One per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
Donnie Schutz joining us.
This is Winged Nation with Steve Post and Kendra Jacobs.
The stat that just jumps off the page: 178 consecutive races without a DNF.
You know, now that it's something that you brought up, I'm sure it'll probably end that streak sooner than later. But those guys know the feel that I'm looking for in my race car, and they know that if I get that feel, that I'm going to be able to maneuver and try to keep myself out of trouble.
Winged Nation every Tuesday at noon, exclusively on MRN.com.
Hey, this is Joey Logano. You're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meier and Woody Cain. This show still exists?
I have a question about the Hall of Fame in Charlotte. The new inductees, who are they going to be next year?
All right, who are they going to be next year? So
Wow.
here's the way it works. They put 5 into the Hall from the pool of 25 that they have, so they replace the ones who were going out last time.
Yeah, one of the difficult situations for the Hall of Fame is deciding whether you're going to put people that have passed away or deceased or current members that are alive. And to me, the pool on each side is very large. To even start nominating somebody or coming up with a pool for next year for 17, it would take me a week to even think about it. We have a very large pool of 20 people that are active now, some alive, some deceased, that will make the voters very difficult decision coming up.
You can participate in our fan forum hotline, 844-4-ASK-MRN. That's 844-427-5676, 24/7. Anytime you got a question or comment about the racing or anything going on within it. Now, I wanted you to hear this. Dale Earnhardt Jr. talked about Jimmy Johnson catching his dad there for the 76 win he got in his career. Let's hear what he had to say.
I had a blast. I love that we didn't have a lot of debris cautions, man. That was awesome. I know the fans like seeing restarts and yellows and all that stuff, or at least some of them do. I don't want to speak for all of them, but I love these races that just play themselves out. It played out naturally. But now that I know he won today and tied my daddy, I'm glad I run second in that race.
There you go, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Quickly on the rule deal, yesterday with Matt Kenseth's team, he put the gas man had contact with the nozzle
You've been
and put the
listening
tool
to
on the car.
MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Hercules Tires. Tune in again next Monday at noon for all the latest news, results, and interviews from NASCAR on MotorRacingNetwork.com. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand at the MotorRacingNetwork.com Media Center, or download it from iTunes or Stitcher. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.